wanted to make you aware of the dreams of two people. Are you aware of Helen Schuckman, most of you probably, in the Course of Miracles? Are you aware that, you know, Helen Schuckman was a psychiatrist?
Was she part of the creating of A Course in Miracles?
What?
She was the one.
She was the, or she, it came through her. She was the author. She refused to have her name associated with that course until she was dead. As long as she was alive, she refused to have identified. Because she was an atheist. And she was a psychiatrist. And this came, you know, but if you'll notice, and in one of her biographies, I've seen some more goosebumps over here. This person is, boy, would I like to know what she writes. If you'll notice this CREEI scan, she had a series of dreams before the course came through her. And it only occurred over a period of months in 1965. And you can see how they score and how the patterns, look at that pattern column, how the pattern started off 3, you know, anticipatory traumatic, and notice how they moved until they began to be transformative. And you can see that I used to have I have typically a column with the initials of the most important characters that are in the dream if you recognize them. And you could have a lot of them, but if you just have 2, and you can trace and score and sort over with regard to people. You can see how relationship evolves. And as you see, for her, JC comes into the scene later, and sure enough, look at how Jesus comes into her dreams and rescues her and moves her into a new territory in here. And she said, she's asked her, why me? Because you'll do it. She was so disciplined that she was chosen because she had that kind of...
So did you take her dreams from, I know that there are a couple of biographies that
Yes.
talk about it.
This
or did you know her?
I didn't know her, no.
Yeah.
There was a, I'm sorry I didn't have this there. It came from one of her friends did her biography and recorded all her dreams.
Right.
Yeah. And then I wanted to show you this one, a scan of Wilford Woodruff. Wilford Woodruff was the 4th president of the Mormon Church. And that's the religion I was born and raised in until I got kicked out. That's it twice. I thought I was offering something useful. Get out of here. We only have anyway. So, but if you'll see, this scans this man's life from February of 1840 to the end of his life, May of 1897. But you'll see his dreams over the period of time, and it vacillates all over the place with these patterns. But toward the very end, there's 2 things I would just like to bring to your attention. Right at the very end, you'll see he begins to have troubling dreams, just before. And so what that told me is he didn't get it. He didn't know what was happening to him. I mean, here he was as the peak of this religious institution, supposed to be the prophet, seer, and revelator. He really begins to worry. Oh, I'm not doing my job here, or doesn't even know what his job is. Anyway, you can see, and then you can see, I have some comments over there where you'll have transformative or motivational dreams, 1 or 2. Usually when he was an avid fisherman, because that's when he would dream of catching a fish. That's where he would dream of having converted when he was a missionary, had a conversion, had success in the mission field. and he would have these transformative dreams, and with catching fish. I thought that was very curious, interesting. Anyway, so you can see, just by that, you can score your own life over a period, and check out comments, and you watch the progression of your own inner reality. I thought that was kind of fun.
Eugene,
Now,
we have 13 minutes left, including questions.
okay, I want to just ask you, just notice there's one last couple of pages where it says example 1 and example 2. That was one of my pilot programs in an engineering company. The guy I told you that was the head of the company that hired me, this was his group, he said, I want everybody to come to this seminar, which went ongoing, and you have a choice. You come to the seminar or you find some other place to work. So, because one of the guys, you see, let's see, example 1, the thing that's circled here is Raul, R-G. Raul was a tough guy from a gang member from Los Angeles gangs, but he was a very good machinist. But he wasn't about to come to any dumb thing like this, except when he got this suggestion that he might want to find some other place to work. So he came, and you can see, and now I see there H and L and dashes here. In those days, I had high or low or, you know, so H is plus and L is minus, and the minus is actually a question mark. But you can see over the period of time that he was coming, it was a weekly meeting, that his scoring became transformative. He was so excited at the end of this seminar that he wrote me an endorsement. He just, involuntarily, it just made all the difference in the world for him. Oh, I loved that. And then on that same seminar, there's another one. There's a different person, Paola, P.S., was a typical, did I see a hand up? No. Peripheral vision, I saw something happen. Sorry. Yeah, she was brushing her hair. Paola was a typical overworked, stressed out Mormon housewife. She was just, and she was a writer, but she had also writer's block. She was exhausted, she was overtaxed. She said, is this going to help me, can you? I said, well, come and see what happens. So you can see by the title, Relief, and then notice stabbing a man. So something really going on, something really big is she's confronting. And then as it moves to the end, there's the ice cream, you see that? It's transformative. And she didn't want to share that dream. It was so dumb. It was so simple. But we scored it, not knowing the content. And I said, Paula, what's been going on in your life over this period of time? And she went through the things that she was having trouble with at the beginning. They were all in order. She hadn't even noticed. The family relationships had moved. She was writing again. She was having, her life had moved around, and she didn't even notice. So the scoring was just to score this sort of nonsense, silly dream. Man, anyway, that was an example I wanted to share with you. I'm going to stop talking. Any comments? Yes. Yes.
I notice your skill at, because you've done it a whole lot, of like looking at the dream, looking at the scoring and going, well, here's this could happen.
Uh-huh.
Have you taught other people the system, and have they had equal success with people they're working with?
Good question. I want to answer it this way. In the early days, when I had a manuscript and so forth, people told me this question: look, this isn't going to work unless you do it.
I can see how somebody would come up with that, yeah.
Yeah, and so you got to be, then it needs you to do it. I said, well, a friend of mine had given my manuscript to a friend of hers, unknown to me, who was a psychologist for Washington State Penitentiary and had, she worked with male inmates. She, after several years, she wrote me a letter. She says, I apologize for not writing to you or telling you or asking your permission to use your technique, but I've been using it with my clients that are prisoners and watching their lives change. That's all I needed, because I said, well, okay, maybe I need to, I'd hoped to put it in a form that other people could use, and I don't have to be around. So that
Right,
was.
and I see it as a wonderful system, and one that could easily be given to somebody else, and, say, try it out with your own folks. But I just wondered if you'd done that.
We have a book that
Yeah,
we're,
so-
yes.
I would like to understand more the number. How do you determine the pattern? I see 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. I'm not sure I understand how you.
Okay. Motivational is 1 or 2 yeses or nos any place. 1 or 2 yes, or 1 or 2 no's or question marks any place. Just a little bit out of transformational. So I just call that a 2. It's motivational. There's not a lot of work to do to change that score in your imagination to a yes.
Okay.
It's that simple. There's no theoretical thing. And the anticipatory is, I noticed, because of my experience with deja vus over a period of many years. So that's how that came about. That was why I call it anticipatory. And notice it usually came with those kinds of questions. So that's just an empirical experience.
And Claude, he gives here for the 1, 2, 3, 4, the numbers, how
Oh,
he.
you got this.
Yeah.
Oh, you have here?
Yes.
Right,
Over here.
Yes.
Yeah.
page 2.
So I have a question that, so when you work with these dreams, you just score them? Do you suggest then working with the dreams in other ways? I mean, you talked about the poetry.
Yes.
idea.
In the term seminars and workshops and seminars, when we have more time, we do get into content.
Okay.
And many people are eager to share their content, and I want that opportunity to be there. We just didn't have the time, but it becomes much richer and deeper. And people, as they learn trust and are eager to share themselves, then yes, there's plenty of opportunity to get into the substance of the dream. And there are different techniques for working with.
Did you discuss some of that, and do you have like a web page somewhere here that we can?
I do have a web page.
It's not listed.
It's called the CREEI process.
The CREEI process?
The CREEI process.
And if you got the copy of Dreamtime, the web page.
Is it in there?
Yes.
It's identified there, yeah.
Yeah, and then it goes into creative dreaming. My UCLA course is called Creative Dreaming and Spiritual Awakening.
Okay, so this evolution that these people are going through isn't just from scoring it, it's also from doing this creative process with their dreams.
Ask me the question again.
The evolution that you show in the handouts of the different people who've gone through this evolution in their in their scoring is not just from scoring their dreams, it's actually from doing this creative process around the dreams as well as the
Yes.
scoring. Okay,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
And
Eugene, I have one quick question, and did you want to cover this at all? And we have 2 more minutes. So before we go there,
yes.
you said something up here, there was like 3 in a category, and if you look at your instructions on the back, it all says like 2. So you said one thing, it seems to say something different.
Really?
Yeah, so if you could just address that in a few minutes.
Let's see what, I'm not
But
sure.
right now,
What did
do
you
you
make?
want to,
Am I,
Whoops.
have I blown it?
for the moment, you want to discuss this before we go, Eugene?
Oh,
The back page,
back
the very
page.
back page, that diagram.
Oh, yes, well, I'd like you to, some of you are familiar with Star Trek. And the very beginning, Captain Kirk was the hero. And I learned, I realized, because I like to use the Kiersey sorter for a group. You know, that's a shorthand of Myers-Briggs, all of which comes from Carl Jung's stuff, to get an idea what your superior functions are and your inferior functions, so you get an idea. And a group then scoring, and you can plot their strengths and weaknesses, so you can get a chance to see how a group might be skewed in a certain way and what they might look for to bring into the group to make it more balanced. But this group wholeness thing, I realized that if you take this and turn it this way, the perception functions if you turn it this way, where the thinking and feeling are working as partners, intuition goes up here, sensation goes down here, and Captain Kirk was an intuitive. He could make snap decisions. And he had Mr. Spock as the thinker, and Bones, the doctor, as the feeler, and Scotty, who was in the bowels of the ship, making sure all the nuts and bolts were working. That was the perfect balanced team. I mean, isn't that wonderful? No wonder that thing worked well.
So when you do those kinds of things, when you
Yeah.
take a group,
Yeah.
do you give the individuals in the groups the Myers-Briggs?
Yes, we start off with the Myers-Briggs,
Right.
or the Kiersey sorter is what I use.
Right.
It's very fast.
Right.
And then we can plot where
Yeah.
everybody is. We can get an idea. And this particular company that was the pilot group was very balanced, all of it. So that was very interesting. Other groups were just clumped over, over here, and that showed.
Eugene,
Yes,
we're done.
we're done.
We feel
Okay,
thank
how do
you
you do?
both.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I love being here. It's wonderful.
Let me turn this off.
And